we actually have a question from the audience. Dr. B. Ellen Wesley asks, does that perspective of your life and sharing with the audience, affect your first few lines on stage? How do you break the ice?
Yeah. So when I was more gender nonconforming, so, I've been on testosterone for about 5 years now. So when I get on stage, people think that they're just seeing like a man, a cisgender man. But before, I used to say, I used to come out there with this very high pitched sort of feminine voice and be like, I'd be like, hey, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Yeah. And then with a very high pitched voice, I would be like, I don't really talk like that. And then people would be like, wait, what? And then I go, I know some of y'all are thinking, is that a girl who looks like a man or a boy who looks better than my man? Do I bash it or fuck it? And when I do that, that kind of just like neutralize, like everybody's like, oh, and then we go. Now I'm out there, I'm like, okay, let me just get some shit out the way. I'm transgender. It's been 5 years since I've been on testosterone, which is why I sound like Drake on auto-tune. And then and then people just, like you kind of just massage the crowd with some jokes that on me, you know what I'm saying? And then name the shit in the room like every comic knows how to do, and then keep it moving.
Yeah, I mean, that's really important to note, is that you make everyone comfortable with you being comfortable.
Exactly.
We have another question from the audience. What are the other considerations you take into how you present or look on stage?
It's so interesting. I think that with whenever I do shows, like I think that my everyday uniform is a black tee and some black shorts and a cap. Boom. But when I get on stage, I try to queer it up a little bit so that people are kind of like, oh, I wear a lot of pinks, like stuff that I love wearing, but it's also like just a lot more clothing than I like to be in. You know what I'm saying? So it would be like a lot of colors. I love like wearing a ton of colors. And I think it's a different way, because I think that what ends up happening is that people don't have a nuanced understanding of like, people kind of by accident put people in these boxes of man and woman and of a racial sort of category. And so I always try and think about that and like flip it, and then do things in my show and talk about things in my show that don't show like a traditional form of masculinity or a traditional way of being a South Asian person or a trans person or a queer person. Like there's just so many different things that I try to keep in my mind in what I'm talking about, and also how I'm presenting physically. But I think that more than anything, when it, like somebody was asking me the other day, like, do you find yourself switching up your material for different audiences? Yes, I do. Like my club set's going to be different than my college set. My if I'm talking to a bunch of queer people, regardless of where I'm at, I'm going to talk about more like race stuff. If I'm talking to a bunch of people who are like straight, I'm going to talk about more queer shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I just try and like keep it rolling.
Yeah, you're reapplying your material for the different audiences, which is what every good comedian needs to do. You need to be able to roll with what, and when we teach comedy, we also, and learn comedy, we realize you have to look at the audience. You have to pay attention to what that audience is about, because you need to direct your comedy to what best, would be most appropriate for them.